Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, it's Jan here, and today I'm answering your Avengers Infinity War questions, plus revealing some more details from the trailer you might have missed. A brand new round of my Marvel giveaway is also running here, and to enter you just need to be a subscriber and comment about the movie or leave a request for future Infinity War videos. Plus I'll announce the winner for my trailer breakdown later in this video. Of course, speculation and possible spoilers ahead for Infinity War and the MCU. Let's kick off with Iron Man and Clements, who asks, do you think the rumours of Iron Man using the bleeding edge armour are true? Well, yes, I do think the new armour we're seeing hints of in the promos is very likely the MCU's take on Iron Man's bleeding edge armour. In the Super Bowl spot, you could see the new armour forming itself around Tony Stark, and I suspect it's coming from a new arc reactor that Tony's designed. The official Infinity War Prelude comic shows Tony playing around with a new blue reactor in the Avengers compound as he prepares for the end of all things. Iron Man's new blue reactor is a kind of Easter egg to the comic book bleeding edge armour that first appeared in the Invincible Iron Man. In that comic book storyline, Iron Man's armour flowed out of the arc reactor wrapping itself around Tony Stark. In the movie, the new armour will also probably be a form of nanotechnology, like Black Panther's suit, although I think this is going to be something Tony develops himself and not Wakandan tech. As Lucifer points out, the way the thrusters on Iron Man's feet morph into a single booster may indicate nanotech at work, which Tony can command to form a variety of structures. By the way, we haven't seen them in the trailers yet, but the EW cover for Iron Man shows arm wings or boosters, which I think we'll also see him use for additional control when he's moving in space. Next up, a lot of you wanted to know more about the Black Order, who we got to see a proper team shot of in the new trailer. In a change from the comics, in the MCU, each member of the Black Order is one of Thanos' children, like Nebula and Gamora. From left to right in this shot, we have Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, Corvus Glaive and Cull Obsidian, whose comic book name was actually Black Dwarf. In fact, the Cull Obsidian was an alternate name for the Black Order in the comics. The Order were introduced as a team in the Infinity comic book storyline where they were sent to Earth by Thanos to retrieve the Infinity Gems, and it's now been confirmed that in the Infinity War movie, the Black Order come down to Earth on a Q ship, which is that circular alien ship seen hovering over New York. Indeed, in the first trailer, we already saw Corvus Glaive attacking Vision for the Mind Stone with his blade. The weapon which Corvus Glaive wields in the comics can cut through virtually anything or anyone, which is why it's so terrifying to see it used on Vision. This scene likely takes place before Vision is taken to Wakanda, so I think Vision is likely saved at this point, although the way Scarlet Witch looks at him later in Wakanda makes me doubt he'll survive the film. Back to the group shot of the Black Order with Loki. Some of you are wondering whether Loki has switched sides again back to Thanos. Judging by the way Proxima Midnight is pointing her spear at the God of Mischief, I think he's actually being summoned to Thanos to answer for his failure in the first Avengers movie, when he lost the Mind Stone that Thanos gave him to help his takeover of Earth. Now we know that Loki has changed since then, and although he's still got an eye for trouble, I don't think he's going to switch sides again. Loki may have already saved Bruce Banner by using the Tesseract which he stole from Asgard to portal him back to Earth to warn the other Avengers about Thanos. And Loki may even try to bargain with Thanos, offering up the Tesseract in exchange perhaps for saving his brother Thor's life. Sadly though, I do think Loki's days are probably numbered, and Thanos will execute him after he gives up the Space Stone. Hopefully it will be a heroic death though. There's another interesting detail in this shot, with some fans pointing out there's a sword lying on the ground which looks like it could be the Bifrost sword that Heimdall normally wields, though it's hard to be sure from this image if the hilt is exactly the same. But if it is, then that's pretty bad news for Heimdall, as I suspect it means Thanos or the Black Order killed him during their attack on the Asgardian ship. And if the theories about Heimdall having the Soul Stone are correct, then this could be how Thanos obtains that stone. But I'm going to talk more on the Soul Stone later. We do know that at least 2 characters survived the attack on the Asgardian ship. Bruce Banner ends up back on Earth, and although Thor gets his head squeezed like a grape by Thanos, the God of Thunder survives this and ends up with the Guardians. But Ryan asked what the chances are of Thor making it out alive by the end of the movie. Well, my feeling right now is that it's about 50-50 for Thor. The Russos recently said that Thanos and Thor were the 2 characters who would get the most screen time in Infinity War, and we're going to see Thor get some significant character development in the movie. As I mentioned in my last video, Thor's getting a new hammer, and by the way, I think the trailer's been digitally edited in this shot to remove his new weapon so we can't see it yet. Thor's got his cape again here, plus there are toys of Thor wielding his new weapon, but without his eye patch, just a scar around his damaged eye. This all feels like Thor is going to be reborn in a way. He's getting a new weapon and his full eyesight will be restored. Now, all of these developments make me feel it would be so cruel to watch the character go through this and then just be killed by the end of Infinity War. So I'm hoping Thor is one of the main Avengers who survives through to Avengers 4. A very intriguing detail some of you noticed was that when Cap goes up against Thanos, there's a little glint of yellow or perhaps orange in his eyes. Now that might just be the reflection from the Infinity Gauntlet. However, there's speculation this might indicate that Cap is in possession of or has the power of the Mind or the Soul Stone. It's possible that Steve Rogers has consumed some of the heart-shaped herb while in Wakanda. And there's a theory that, ultimately, the herb gains its powers from the Soul Stone, which was inside the meteorite that hit Wakanda, meaning that the power of the Soul Stone could have transferred to Cap. And yes, I know that Killmonger ordered the destruction of the heart-shaped herb in the Black Panther movie, however it's possible somebody saved some or that there's some elsewhere in the nation. These are interesting possibilities, though there's no concrete evidence I can see from the trailers so far, and it's quite possible that the shot we see is simply Cap momentarily holding his own against Thanos before the Mad Titan crushes him, which sadly he did very easily in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. By the way, throughout the promos we've seen so far, we've only ever seen Thanos with a maximum of 2 Infinity Stones showing properly in the Gauntlet, the Power Stone and the Space Stone. It's worth considering that Marvel might have edited out other Infinity Stones from the trailers to prevent spoiling exactly how many Thanos has at different points in the movie, in a similar way to how Thor's missing eye in Ragnarok was restored in the trailers for that film. And talking of Infinity Stones, Roy Martin Tandberg asks, what if the reason why Thanos wants to wipe out half the universe is to get the Soul Stone by capturing their souls? Now that's an interesting idea, because so far we've all mostly assumed that the Soul Stone exists in some kind of physical form, but what if it's actually something more ethereal? I mean, in Thor the Dark World, when we were introduced to the Ether, aka the Reality Stone, it was a liquid-like substance that took over Jane Foster's body.
While the other relics often appear as stones, the ether is fluid and ever-changing. It changes matter into dark matter. It seeks out host bodies, drawing strength from their life force.
And in the comics, the Soul Gem is something that draws in souls, which could fit with the idea of Thanos capturing souls. The Soul Gem also has its own internal world called Soul World, where the souls live that the gem has taken in. And because these are comic book movies, capturing a character's soul would be a convenient way to appear to kill a character, but have the ability to bring them back when the remaining Avengers presumably defeat Thanos in Avengers 4. In fact, I actually think this might be what happens to Gamora, Thanos' favourite daughter, and I talked about that in my recent Death Theory video. But just where will the Soul Stone come into play? Well, now that we have more details about Thanos' homeworld Titan, I think there's a chance the Soul Stone location or discovery will tie in with one of the action scenes on Titan, or perhaps Thanos' backstory even. Other possibilities could be the final Infinity Stone is saved for a future movie like Captain Marvel or Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I talked about those possibilities in my recent Soul Stone theory video. Some of you also want to know whether the comic book character Death will be in Infinity War, as she was an integral part of Thanos' motivation in the comics. Well, I'm almost sure this won't be the case. Firstly, Marvel has gone with a different motivation for Thanos, which is related to the tragedy that happened to his homeworld Titan. And secondly, I think Hela has potentially taken the place of the character Death in the MCU. Hela is the goddess of death after all, and there's a possible hint that she knows or has a backstory with Thanos, as she knew that Odin's Infinity Gauntlet was fake. In fact, I do think Hela could have survived Ragnarok and might return in Infinity War, perhaps either in a post-credit scene or maybe in Avengers 4 where she could team up with Thanos. If you want to know more about Hela's possible return, I'll link to a video I made about that in the description below. Another character who hasn't appeared in any of the main trailers is Nebula. She did have a tiny appearance in the Super Bowl TV spot, where she appeared looking angry and brandishing her electroshock weapon on Titan. I'm hoping that as well as the film including backstory for Gamora, we'll see more for Nebula too. As for what Nebula's up to now, in an interview, actress Karen Gillan has said that Nebula gets a new and unexpected BFF in Infinity War. Gillan couldn't say who it was, but if it's someone unexpected, then I'm thinking she could be paired up with someone more humorous like Spider-Man, or perhaps even Ant-Man. Talking of Ant-Man, we haven't seen anything at all of him or Hawkeye in the trailers or promo images. And I've got a separate video to explain where they are, plus who Game of Thrones star Peter Dinklage will be playing in Infinity War. And I'll add a link here as soon as that video's ready. Okay, question for you guys now. Who do you think will survive Infinity War and why? Let me know in the comments below, plus tell me any requests for future Marvel videos. You can also tweet me at Jan_Gilbert or at FlickCity. The winner from my Infinity War trailer breakdown giveaway is on screen now. If that's you, send me a private message with your details and I'll get your prize out to you. If you liked this video, a thumbs up is always appreciated. You can check out any of my other videos I mentioned by tapping the screen for my Marvel and Theories playlists right here. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!